What a mark.
Yo, 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 check your rollies, pop your 40s. It's the Accidental Wrestling Fan. We don't really have a game plan for this one. We're just gonna bullshit for like the next hour or so. So I hope you enjoy the ride and whatever happens, happens. So, Kaz, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing all right. Been a long ass week, man. I'm very
Yeah.
ready for the weekend, even though weekends don't feel like weekends anymore because I literally live at work. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's
same.
working for the weekend, right?
Lenny Lane, where's my Loverboy tapes? Oh, man. Very happy to be heading into a weekend. We got a big weekend coming up. Taking my girlfriend to get birria ramen. I'm not sure how to say it. It's a spot in Southwest Detroit. I'm taking like an hour and a half lunch tomorrow to take her because she's off tomorrow.
Nice.
And then UFC 294,000 is tomorrow or Saturday. It's Mike Chandler, Chuck Aloe Vera. Should be a good one. Kind of weird because neither guy is like gonna be the actual linear champion. Because Khabib was just like, I beat everybody's ass, I'm out. So,
yeah.
So it was like an old guy from Bellator and a former featherweight fighting for the belt. So yeah.
Didn't they just have a big UFC?
Yeah, the 3 title card or 3 title fight one where all 3 championship fights
Yeah.
did stoppage, and I bet that all 3 fights will go the distance. I bet like $50 on a parlay for that.
Is this going to be in front of people?
Yeah, it's gonna be in Houston. They're running shows basically where they're saying "fuck it, mask off." So Houston,
Dude,
the
that
next one after that.
Oh, go ahead.
The Houston and Arizona and Florida. So they're just going to keep alternating there. And then the fight nights are all going to be in the Apex in Vegas.
That fucking Canelo fight was packed.
That was weird. Like, so we've talked about this before. Part of me, just in my head, loved hearing the crowd, hearing the sound, hearing everyone go nuts as the fight started to heat up and ebb and flow. There was I guess, I don't know if boxing calls it a co-main event, but the fight before with the Japanese guys, his last fight, that dude was taking some fucking bombs, man. The crowd was going nuts for every single shot as this man, they were talking about how this guy had seen it all and done it all, and he's a true vet of the sport, and then they're like, yeah, he's 33 years old. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right. Every time I hear something like that,
he'll be able to be lucky to write with a fucking pencil by the time he's 35 after the shots he was taking.
Yeah, man.
He got knocked out, didn't he?
He didn't. He got stopped, but he didn't get flatlined. Like
because after the fight, he was still like throwing like punches and shit.
Yeah, boxing
like,
stoppages get
like,
weird.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I didn't catch that fight. I was trying to order it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and, I was hoping you walk through the steps to order it because I know we use the same provider to get that fight.
Yeah.
That's right.
I missed it. So I caught the Canelo fight though.
What do you think about that fight, man? I know a lot of people were like, Billy Joe Saunders is a total jobber. I can't believe he's fighting Canelo. And then other people were like, yeah, he smashed him. I thought the fight was kind of heating up a little bit before it got stopped. Like, I feel like Saunders was, I don't want to say necessarily like turning the tables, but he was starting to make it more competitive as the fight went on. Then his eye exploded.
Yeah, you could have easily said Saunders was even up on him, really.
Yeah, it was closer than I think a lot of people were thinking. I think just because Saunders got stopped because of his eye, people just... When you see on a record for any fight, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, and you see this person got knocked out or got stopped, doctor stoppage, whatever, you're thinking, oh, that person pretty much got destroyed, but that doesn't necessarily tell the whole story of the fight. And yeah, I feel like the fight was a lot more competitive in those. How many rounds did it go, Kaz?
8.
Yeah.
8, 9. Like, so Canelo's like one of the best, if not one of the best boxers of all time. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he's really fucking good. I mean, he's got knockout wins at light heavyweight. He beat Kovalev. He knocked out Kovalev.
Yeah, I really like him, but there's something about him. I just want to see him get beat.
Interesting.
I want to see someone beat him. And I don't follow boxing at all, really. I mean, there's a big fight on, I'll order it.
Is it something where
watch it, but
do you not like him?
No, I think he's a great guy, stand-up guy. I think he's done great things for the sport. I mean, who else really out there is a big name for that sport? There's not many. Canelo, Fury, Mayweather. Mayweather's, on his last leg, I would assume.
Yeah, I would say he's on his last legs because the motherfucker looked like he looks like he has hair like me right now. And he's running around chasing one of the fucking Paul brothers trying to get his hat back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that's got scripted written all over it.
Yeah, and Mayweather's the smartest man in the business.
Oh, absolutely. That fight, man, will be huge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Jake
huge.
Paul is the greatest heel in all of wrestling.
Oh yeah,
sports right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a dude that knows how to make his money. Absolutely.
I don't know anybody that has been getting the heat and trolling people on such a colossal level besides, I mean, in the wrestling and combat sports realms since probably like Conor McGregor going up and winning the 2 belts. I would say like in real life, I haven't really seen anyone, at least in this country, get that much heat since Donald Trump.
Yeah, dude.
People really fucking hate Jake Paul. And I mean, I can definitely see why. He seems like, well, for lack of a better term, a prick. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not that hard to follow his life, really. He's basically has been recording forever, so it's all out there, and a lot of it's negative. He did change. Like it's weird because you do see like those videos and stuff of people doing reviews on him and his brother, and it's kind of weird how like they've kind of crisscrossed. Like his brother is not doing nearly as good as him now, and I don't know. I don't keep up with that. I don't like watching any of that negative stuff, and it's not my cup of tea. And but from what I've seen or heard on YouTube and whatnot, is that he kind of changed. He kind of turned himself around a little, but I mean, he's still annoying. There's no doubt about it. But the dude, smart dude, making his money. He's taking it, and yeah, he might be one of the most hated men right now in the world. Even just in general, people just can't stand that dude. And that's another guy that, like, for whatever reason, you just want to see him get knocked out. But like, I don't, what were you guys like? I think I already know your answers. We kind of already talked about it, but when he fought Ben Askren, it was just like, I mean, anyone in the fight world, I feel, was like, oh yeah, dude, Ben's going to lose. I could be wrong, but I mean, we knew it. He was a wrestler. Ben's a wrestler, and, and he's up there in age now, and he's kind of at the end of his career too. So yeah, let's put a wrestler in a boxing match.
So initially I was like, this is so dumb. Ben Askren's definitely going to lose. He's not a good striker. But then I started I started thinking about Ben Askren, toughest nails wrestler. I think he went to the Olympics, right? He's an Olympian.
Is he Olympian, or did he?
I think he went to.
I don't know.
I think he went to the Olympics, but I don't think he did.
Yeah,
as
I
great
thought
as
he was an
alternate.
Yeah, an alternate. That's what I thought, but I don't know. You would know better than me.
Olympic caliber wrestler.
Yeah, right.
National champion, all American, all this stuff, and I've watched him take unbelievable damage and punishment from Robbie Lawler, who is one of the biggest hitters in the sport of MMA with 4-ounce gloves, and I'm like, if Robbie Lawler can't knock him out with 4-ounce gloves, there's no way fucking Jake Paul's gonna knock him out in boxing gloves. There's no way. And then he got hit. Basically, he got dropped with the first clean punch. And I was like,
Yeah, man.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah,
I
right.
felt
Yeah.
dumb because I put money on the over, like five and a
Yeah.
half rounds. I felt dumb for that. And I was like,
Eh,
Askren's tough. It's possible he could make it an ugly fight and maybe, steal some rounds late, maybe get a weird decision or something. So I was like, fuck it, I'll put some money on him.
yeah. I thought he was going to go to the distance and, still lose. But, yeah, that was my thoughts too, was like, oh, okay. It never really occurred to me that, oh, age is probably a factor in that, man. And it, it's, it's just like the bump card, right? I think that's one thing the wrestlers always say. Same thing in fighting, dude. I mean, if you take just hits to the head so many times, there's only so many times that your brain can allow that, like before you turn into jello. I mean, it was the same when we kept seeing Chuck Liddell fight. It was just like, I didn't want to see Chuck fight anymore because it was the same thing over and over and over again. You could basically sneeze on the dude and knock him out. And that's just the sad thing about it. That's one of those things. I mean, we all do it. Like, I mean, I'm not getting any younger, and yet I still, in the back of my mind, want to get back into Muay Thai and like want to fight. And I fucking trained wrestling at the age of 34, and it's like I broke ribs. 20 something me wouldn't break ribs on a bump. It just it wouldn't happen, or if it did, it would be a freak accident. But like 30 something me is like, oh yeah, oh, I'm getting older, I'm an idiot. And so it's definitely one of those things. I don't think anyone coerced those guys into it. It's just like, hey, it's a good payday, and I still want to do it. But like, you got to think of the consequences. How much can your body take, man? And it's like, all right, dude, is it really worth it for those 10, 15, 20 years to be fighting all that time so that you still have the rest of your life, 40, hopefully 40 years after that, right? And
Mhm.
you don't want to be sitting there with your brain mushed and forgetting everyone, and pugilistic dementia, or having other onset Parkinson's and stuff like that. So that's the kind of sad thing, the scary thing with all those. I mean, I didn't think Ben was at that point, but I also was thinking, oh man, like it's just not good. it's
If
it's
you
not.
if you want to talk about your bump card getting punched or your chin getting cracked, in this case for a fighter, Ben Askren's bump card got punched in probably the most unbelievable way you could possibly imagine.
Yeah,
Like the most
man.
picture perfect flying knee, like 180 something pounds running as fast as they can and throwing their knee into your head as you
Yeah.
lean down into it, trying to shoot a
Yep.
double egg. It,
Yep.
Like a shot like that, you just probably never fully recover from.
no,
Yeah, really. I mean,
no,
no, you don't.
no.
You're right.
And,
There is.
and he is already beat up from years of wrestling. He's wrestled since
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
kid. He's. I just looked, John. He's the same age as you. He's 36,
That's
and
what's
he's already had
insane.
his hips replaced. And you can look at the way he moves and walks that his body is worn down from
Yeah, right.
years of wrestling and then years of fighting on top of that. Uh, the amount of damage that he took because he got if you're listening to this, you're not familiar with Ben Askren. Ben Askren is a welterweight MMA fighter who is considered, one of the best welterweights, one of the best fighters outside the UFC. And, he talked a lot
Yeah.
of shit to Dana White and talked a lot of shit in the UFC that they need to sign him because he would beat GSP and, he would be this dominant champion. And he fought in Bellator. He was the champion there. He went to ONE FC in Asia, was a champion there. Then he retired. And then they ended up trading Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse Johnson, who is people can make a case for being the best MMA fighter of
Oh
all
yeah,
time.
man. Yeah, right.
They traded Mighty Mouse Johnson, who's the flyweight champion, most title defenses in the history of the UFC, for this guy. That's how highly coveted this guy was. And to be honest, when Ben got to UFC, he was probably past his prime.
Yeah.
And the damage that he took in the 3 fights that he had with Damian Maia, Jorge Masvidal, Robbie Lawler is astounding. The damage he took would be some people's like 10-year or 10 fight careers in the UFC. He did it in 3. It
Yeah, man.
is
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of those things that people just they don't consider when, like you mentioned with the boxing, and you hear veteran, and then you hear how old they are, and you're like, oh my god. Like, I think that's one thing that we often forget. I remember talking even with just wrestlers at a younger age, and a lot of those guys being like, "Oh yeah, the doctor's already said that I have arthritis in my knees," and I'm like, "That's not surprising to me." I mean, hell, I don't know if my lower back pain comes from all that. I'm sure it does. It probably doesn't help, but that is something that it's just like one of those things. As a younger guy, I don't know. I can't. It's weird, man. It's really weird to try to tell someone the reason why that you're interested in not avoiding getting punched in the face, but you want to keep doing it over and over and over again.
You
It
live
is.
like
It's
you're
a
in someone else's body. You
yeah,
live
man.
like you're fucking renting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah, dude.
thing
But
with boxers is
yeah,
the name of the game is to like knock the other guy out.
Mhm.
yeah,
UFC, there's, submissions and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I mean, boxers, man, take a lot of damage to the head. I
Mhm.
mean,
Body
yeah, man.
too. The
yeah,
body shots add up, and
Oh, phew,
that doesn't
yeah,
help your
yeah.
brain either. Just
No, no,
people only
exactly.
think of the headshots. They're not thinking of the traumatic force that you're taking to your body.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
UFC and MMA is still incredibly dangerous, and
Oh, yeah, I'm
I,
not.
well, I was gonna say you're probably a little bit away from seeing probably the catastrophic effects that fighting at MMA have had on older guys and retired guys. We're starting to see it a little
yeah,
bit
right.
now with
Yeah, exactly. I know,
Spencer
like
Fisher.
Spencer Fisher. Yep.
Yeah.
A great article just came out with him, man. And that's like tearjerker, man.
Mhm.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, Gary Goodridge had already
Yeah.
admitted that, like, he's like, oh, yeah, I have early stages of dementia.
And that was
It's,
almost 10 years ago when they started
yeah.
talking about Gary Goodridge, and he was fighting in the first UFCs. And
Yeah.
Chuck
Right.
Liddell now. So the guys that were fighting basically, like our early teens, teenage years, now in like when we were in like college or things like that, you're starting to see those guys start to have some issues. I think we're going to start seeing the effects on those fighters more openly now, since fighters are more well known and things like that. I think you're going to start seeing people that have issues like boxers would have, like old school football players would have, and
Yeah, man.
it's not going to be pretty, unfortunately, and
No.
there's no safety net for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, and
Sadly.
that's the sad thing about it. And so anytime that there's talk of a union or something, Dana wants to shut that down, especially. And I mean, I'll admit, like, I've really become, the older that I get, and it's always been that kind of you want to like smack someone in the face argument where like, oh, if you don't like it, well, just don't watch it. And it's like, all right, well, fuck off, man. But like, I actually like have taken that to heart, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. Why should I give my hard-earned money to Dana White when like he's fucking these guys over, and he sits there and like talk about one of the worst human beings on earth. I say that seriously. Uh, I don't care how nice he is to the fans or anything like that, but like just read Spencer Fisher's article. Like goes in, talks to Dana, basically pleads for him. Dana hands him like $10,000 or $15,000, and he's like, "Come on." And he was like, he's thinking that's for him. And he's like, "No, we're gonna go gamble it." Like this motherfucker can easily just spend $15,000, lose $15,000, not even think anything about it. And yet these guys at the top tier level in UFC are lucky if they're being paid that much. And then they have to pay coaches, they have to, pay flights and, all this other stuff. And then now you're going to take their sponsors away. It's complete bullshit, man. And I mean, that's one of those things that like, you really, if there's a hell, like someone's invited to it, and I hope he burns in eternity, like that's just, I'm like, fuck
Dana
that
ain't
guy.
up there, Ray. He's down there.
He's down there in hell.
So you know how because I am incredibly problematic and bought stock in Omnicorp and then Endeavor, which is
Yeah, Endeavor. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, UFC's parent company. they just released, quarterly earnings or some. They released some statement. I forget what it's called, the IPO or some shit. I don't know. And they were talking about how much money the UFC makes and basically how it doesn't cost a lot of money for them to produce the events and they make a ton of money and they're going to be a big money maker for Endeavor. It's like, yeah, because they don't pay the athletes fucking anything.
Yeah,
You know, most
exactly.
sports, they have like a 40
Yeah.
to 50% share for the athletes, revenue share or revenue split. The UFC is 20% for the
Yeah,
athletes.
man.
It's
No,
fucking
it's
sickening.
Mayweather, when Mayweather was talking shit to Conor on that stuff, like, I mean, how could you hate on him? You couldn't. Like, he was just saying, he was speaking the truth with it. And it was like, he's not talking shit. He's speaking the truth. And I just, when things like that are going over, it's just kind of like, wow, man, wow. Like all these dudes. And then I think that's what gets me so heated about it, because these guys are passionate about it and they enjoy it and they work their asses off and they only have a short-term limited span. And yet, when it's all said and done, these guys basically have CTE. They have to write shit down. They have to take tons of different medication. And yet there's nothing there for them in the end. They give their bodies, their minds, everything to the UFC. And then it's a fuck you, bye. And in Spencer Fisher's case, like the nice, oh, hey, you know what? You're on payroll, but you're basically an ambassador, and it's almost like a WWE Legends contract in a way. You didn't really have to do anything. Maybe show up at an expo here or there once a year, and he would get paid. And then they said, "Oh, that's too much. That's too much to pay you like $5,000 a month or 10,000 or whatever it was." And it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me, man.
And then they fucking fired him.
Yeah, exactly.
They when the UFC sold and Dana White made Scrooge McDuck money, all kinds of crazy money. The UFC sold for billions of dollars. The Fertittas bought it for $2 million 20 years ago.
Yeah, man.
They
Yeah, exactly.
They got rid of all their ambassadors. The only one they kept was Forrest Griffin because he was basically like, I'll work for it. I'll do some kind of actual job. He actually does a lot of cool shit at the Performance Institute, like analyzing fighter footage and things like that. I think he's like the head of the Performance Institute, which is actually pretty cool job for him.
Yeah, man.
But
yeah, that's sweet.
Like Matt Hughes, they fired him. Chuck Liddell, they fired him. Chuck Liddell, you know what he ended up doing after he got fired? He took another fucking fight at 50. He fought Tito, who was still actively fighting, and you know what happened?
Yeah.
Tito beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So it's like you put these guys in situations where, well, they're not making any money, and obviously they're taking so much damage. It's not like they can hold an office job, so they turn back to doing what they know, which is fighting. And these guys get put in bad spots, and it's very shitty to see.
Yeah, it is.
How would you compare Dana and all of that to Vince?
It's a good question.
I feel like
are they similar in
yeah,
in that aspect of pieces of
shit. So they're both pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Who's
the more bigger piece of shit, I guess, is my question.
I feel like there's more dirt on Vince. Like there's more openly known about him to point to him being the bigger piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I think that Dana White is probably a far bigger piece of shit. Because, I mean, first of all...
Well, I'm talking, I guess, just from the business aspect of it.
Oh, the business aspect
of it? Fucking over the boys, I guess, in either company.
Dana for sure.
Dana, no question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at what he's done to the top guy. Like, he won't give Jon Jones the heavyweight title shot because Jon Jones is like, you want me to fight Francis Ngannou, probably dollar for dollar the biggest hitter in the sport right now. You want me to fight him for the heavyweight title? I am one of the longest reigning champions in the history of the business.
I had to, sorry.
You're good. Jon Jones, again, say what you will about him being a ginormous piece of shit, because he is, but he is a proven champion. He is. Mm-hmm. He didn't like Somas like Sean though. I think it's
no.
Although, was it ever proven Sean was a coke guy? I thought he was just like pills and booze.
Not to get off. I guess we could talk about that next. I think that Shawn Michaels biography is this Sunday, which should be interesting.
Should be interesting. But back just real quick to wrap up Jon Jones. He deserves a heavyweight title shot. He's moving up. It's something people have been talking about, funny enough, for a real long time. Him moving up to heavyweight. He's finally doing it. He gave up his light heavyweight belt. It seemed like it was a done deal after Ngannou beat Miocic that they would do that fight, a super fight. It's huge. They always do a big fight 4th of July weekend for the UFC. It always does crazy numbers. That seemed like a layup. But the UFC constantly, especially Dana White, shoots themselves in the dick and not do the things that people expect. Like, how many times Conor McGregor was supposed to have some big fight that was announced and then they have to push it back or reschedule it, or someone else ends up fighting because Conor wants more money and they don't want to pay him, and they have to like tiptoe around trying to pay these guys. It's fucking sickening, man. Like, how many times have they said, like, Rose Namajunas, who just won for the second time the strawweight title, she wanted to get paid more because she deserved it. She's already a champion. Again, proven winner, proven champion. She wanted more money. So Dana White came out and said, I don't think she wants that fight. Well, I don't know which Rose Namajunas he was fucking talking about, because he sniped Zhang Weili in like fucking 2 minutes. She knocked her out cold with a head kick. Didn't seem very scared to me. You just didn't want to pay her. So
yeah, man. Yeah. I'll say this. I don't think I've ever gone off on Vince McMahon on a podcast openly. So
you got fired up. I saw the fire.
I like that.
Dana White's a piece of shit. And I don't say that about a lot of people. I don't like calling people names. But like, when a dude can just bold-face lie and convince himself of his lies, and then he sits there and he tries to be like, oh yeah, man, I got problems from my boxing days. It's like, shut the fuck up, you piece of shit. Like that's one dude that I wouldn't ever care to see him. It's just one of those things. And I'm sure I'm making him cry. Some guy from the Midwest is making Dana White cry with his millions of dollars, wiping away the tears. But like that is exactly it. Like you want to talk about just disgusting. He's one of the most despicable human beings. I'm pretty sure like that guy probably is paid to kill someone, because I wouldn't be surprised.
Dude, his best friends are the Fertittas. If you know anything about the Fertittas, that is long, old school mob
money. We're gonna switch topics.
Just real quick.
I'm sorry, Dana.
A knock on your door, John? I want to go answer that.
Someone's just gonna say "Omorta" real quietly, fucking blast you with a sawed-off shotgun. Zaza. The Fertittas, if you don't know, like I said, old school mob money. The Fertitta brothers, Lorenzo and Frank, who owned the UFC, they were Zuffa, and then their older cousin, who I think is like Thurman Fertitta or something like that. He's the owner of the Rockets. So those three family members, those three people are worth like $9 billion combined. It's sickening.
It's so insane.
It's sickening. And Dana White, he straight up said on some, who is it I used to follow on like LinkedIn, that fucking cesspool of website, Grant Cardone. He had him on one of his little like 10X talks. And Dana White was basically like, yeah, I'm friends with the Fertittas from Boston. I was Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz's manager. And I was trying to negotiate a deal either to have them fight or to get them both money. And he kept pushing more money. And the dude was like, you don't get it. We don't have any more fucking money. He told the Fertittas about it. And then he got 10% of the business. He didn't invest anything. He invested not a single cent. He just was literally at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, man.
He got his job because he was a lucky manager lucky enough, two of the biggest fighters of the 2000s, two of the biggest fighters ever at MMA.
Yeah, right.
He didn't do a single fucking thing for the sport of MMA besides just exist and be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. I will never give that guy any credit for doing anything for MMA. I mean, I would give the Fertittas credit. I feel like they helped with the lobbying and stuff in all the states to get it legalized and, set things up. But no, he's just a talking mouthpiece that I don't believe a word that he says out of his mouth. And the way that he talks down on fighters, like, I'm surprised no one's just gone off and hauled off and punched him right in his fat face.
What was the falling out between him and Matt Riddle? Not that Matt was some huge superstar of a fighter then, but he openly came out and said a lot of shit about Dana. What was that whole falling out between them?
So Matt Riddle,
He was up and coming, right?
Yeah, he was a pretty decent fighter. Now, in terms of like wrestling tough guys, Matt Riddle is a straight up killer. I couldn't think of too many people besides maybe Brock Lesnar or a couple of the amateur guys that could fuck with Riddle in WWE right now. He would beat the shit out of a lot of people in that company.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's
right?
no joke, no exaggeration. No. There's no argument to be made. He beats the shit out of probably like 95% of the roster. Now, as far as UFC goes, he was okay. He had some potential. His striking wasn't that great. Like, his striking defense was pretty bad. But he was an exciting fighter. He's like kind of a blood and guts type fighter. And he failed, I think, a couple of weed tests, and he ended up losing his job. And then he was supposed to go to Bellator. Then he had some issues with Bellator. But he has said very openly that Dana White is a big time asshole. And that's coming from Matt Riddle, who is a lot of people have said that that he's an asshole. So the treatment of fighters, like, basically, if you're not a golden goose of who was the matchmaker at the time when Matt Riddle was in UFC, what's his name? Fucking short guy, Joe Silva. If you weren't on their good side, they would try to fuck you. Like,
yeah, man,
they would set you like, okay, so you're a top 7 guy, young guy coming up. You want a big fight, but maybe you don't have that big of a personality. You're a good fighter. Maybe you're a really good wrestler. You wrestle people a lot. You win a lot of decisions. You don't talk. You're very respectful. You're not a big personality. They fucking hate you because you're like, I want a top 3 guy. I want to fight for the title soon, and I want more money. So what they'll do is, say you're coming off a grueling fight that went 3 rounds and it was a close decision, you took a lot of damage. They'll offer you like, yeah, we'll give you a top 3 guy, but you got to take it on like 4 weeks notice, shit like that.
Yeah,
and
man.
If you turn it down, they'll try to fuck you over and either you release you from your contract or say you're scared and do all the shit. You turn that fight down, okay, you're going to fight like the number 12 dude who's like this unranked Brazilian killer. You got to fight him in Brazil and all this shit. Like, they just set you up for failure. And it's going to be on the prelims too, by the way. So no one's going to see it. So you might get your ass kicked in front of nobody. They do shit like that all the time. If you look up Eddie Alvarez, who's the fucking one of the best lightweights ever, if you look up Joe Silva stories on Twitter, he was talking about how Joe Silva straight up said, like, laughed off him asking for a title shot. And then Eddie Alvarez ended up winning the world title by knockout. And basically, he had the belt and he told Joe Silva to go fuck himself. So, the way they run that is basically how mob guys seem to run shit. So,
So it sounds like
that's the fucking UFC up until they got bought by Endeavor is basically like cockfighting casino. Like, Dana White, you might as well just call them fucking Nikki or something, dude. These guys are fucking. A lot of those guys that were in bed with those Fertitas and Dana White, they're all scumbags. And
yeah, man.
Here I am asking if you guys are going to watch the fight this weekend.
Probably.
No, I think that's partially why I miss it. I miss watching that, but it just got to the point. And I know that's one of those things where everyone's like, well, you support the fighters. I'm like, oh, these guys are going to get paid no matter what. And they're going to get paid shit anyway. So my $60 gone isn't going to, have much of an effect, but it's my little personal vendetta against it. And
you were spending money?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, you ordered it.
Oh, yeah. You were an ESPN Plus subscriber.
Oh yeah.
How
No,
is
even
that, by
before
the
that,
way,
I
John?
wasn't even
How is the ESPN Plus?
I wasn't even I stopped even before ESPN Plus became a thing, actually.
Oh,
Shit,
I
you got
can't tell
out
you the
early.
last oh man, yeah, I did. I got out pretty early. I really when they started when Dana White started basically double booking every month, I was like, dude, man, that's $60 a pop, you know, like $120 in a month. Like, no thanks. And you know, they still weren't paying the fighters anything. And it definitely was like, all right, well, you know, maybe I'll pick and choose which one I want to watch, or, you know, go in with other people and trying to watch stuff. And then, you know, they were doing all that, they're pulling all that bullshit at the time, shutting bars down for putting it up on, you know, they wanted bars to pay, you know, per TV or whatever, or per person or whatever bullshit that's they wanted. And so Dana White was high on his high horse with that one, like, oh, people steal taking money from me. Oh man, done. I started to cool down, and I start thinking of that piece of shit again, and I get angry. I'll move on. I'll say this: Vince McMahon doesn't get me that angry, and I think Vince has done some despicable things in his life too, but not nearly as bad. At least there's some redemption. At least like he's willing to help out some of the guys with the drug problems and stuff. And you know, I think the UFC has something like that, something similar set up, but in the realms of CTE or anything like that, I don't know what they're doing to help. So I don't know. At least wrestling's trying to do something, or at least, you know, making me feel a little bit better watching it. So with all that being said, sorry. sorry for my outburst. I try to be the positive guy. I
Power of
try to,
positivity.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
So
well, hey, listen, you know, in UFC, when you're a longtime champion and fighter, and then you get into a tragic car accident and you lose your speech and you have a hard time getting around, instead of just, you know, continuing to give you that ambassador job that they had and then fired you from when, you know, they sell the company for billions of dollars, they'll let you walk down the aisleway to your old walkout music and let you walk into the cage one last time. Matt Hughes, I'm sure he loved
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, exactly, right. Yeah.
Eh, that's a good time. It was a real
Yeah,
fucking
man.
good time.